It is our traditions, ceremonies, and rituals. Each small detail carries a deep layer of our ancestors' wisdom. It is our pride, our treasure, our national encyclopedia. Let's turn the pages of this encyclopedia together. Today in the program, Trinity of the World and Costumes. Elements of the Middle World, belt. The invention of nomads, heels. When speaking about Kazakh traditions, we should certainly mention national costumes. Every detail of the outfit, whether male or female, had a particular meaning. Costume was like a business card. It was possible to find out a person's age, his social status, whether he is an aristocrat or not. Kazakhs believed in the triune world, and it was reflected in the costume tradition. Headdresses were the attributes of the upper world, the belt, the middle, and the hem of dresses and shoes were the attributes of the lower world. Wedding headdress sokilia is very important and symbolic object of a woman's outfit. It was prepared from the early childhood of the girl when she was 7-8 years old. Particular attention was paid to details. For example, on top of the head, the oku, an owl's feather, was attached.
The
Kazakhs considered the owl's feathers as something sacred. People used them to protect themselves from the evil eye and evil forces. Feathers were sewn to sokilia to children's headdresses. It was believed that the owl's feathers have a protective force. Sokilia was made in bright, rich red color. It was sewn with various precious and semi-precious stones. The red color in the Kazakh culture was the expression of fertility, active energy, and vitality. That is why red color was associated with youth and the ability to give life to children. As for the role of costume elements in traditional rituals, the headdress played a primary role. When wearing sokilia, the girl tried on a new role on herself. She passed from the status of a married young girl to the status of wife and mother. Sokilia was decorated with precious and semi-precious stones, and also it must be said that each stone had its own symbolism. Turquoise symbolized wishes for happiness, prosperity and luck. And the ornaments of a suit made of silver, which was considered as a noble metal, drove away the evil spirits and purified them. Every detail of the headdress was filled with a story about the man who put it on, about his life. A girl's sokilia showed the family she was from, her status and position in the society. Therefore, the headdress was given special attention. Peter the Great Museum of Anthropology and Ethnography in St. Petersburg stores sokilia which was made of felt, adorned with gold embroidery, decorated with threads of coral, pearls and silver balls. The price of this sokilia was 100 to 200 horses. And if we talk about the essence of sokilia, then in the old days, parents caring for their daughter purposefully lined the headdress with precious stones and metals. This was done so that in case if she suddenly loses her husband, she could exchange the sewn jewels for money and could feed herself and children. The meaning of sokilia, translated from Kazakh, means goes alive and unharmed. It means the newly made bride came to the new house alive and unharmed.
Келін аман-есен сау келе жатыр деген мағынада қолданылады негізі.
If the girl did not become a mother during the first year of marriage, she wore another hat, aksokilia, and it pointed out that this family did not have children yet. And as soon as the family had a child and the status of the girl changed, she became a mother, she again changed her headdress.
бала туған әйел кимешек киетін
After the birth of the child, the woman always put on kimishek on her head. On the one hand, it was convenient for feeding the baby. On the other hand, it helped to maintain hygiene. It is interesting that the kimishek of the Kazakh women had regional features. It was noticeable in the embroidery and decoration of the headdress. In Semirechye and in the southern parts of Kazakhstan, among the patterns, a vegetal ornament predominated, and in western parts of Kazakhstan, in Mangistau, the kimishek was decorated with large ornament in the form of a mutton horn, demonstrating the status and position of the woman. This, on the one hand, is a distinctive feature of the region, on the other hand, sign of Hyoru, clan. Such embroidered kimisheks mostly belonged to noble, rich people. Male or female, but the clothes always spoke for themselves, and first of all they showed how rich a person was. For example, the Khan's attire and clothing of bees and sultans had a wide cut and was long, and usually these noble people had a special person next to them who raised the hem of such clothes. But the poor people had opposite attire. The sleeves and hem of the clothes were shortened. Clothes were adjusted so that it was convenient to work in them. In Kazakh traditions, guests were offered all the best, including gifts, and of course, people often gifted clothes. Women were given kamizols, sleeveless jacket, men chapan, robe. Prosperous people could afford to give things of a large size. This once again demonstrated their status. There is no need to save on clothes and decoration. It was impossible to imagine a Kazakh woman without a headdress corresponding to her status. Similarly, it was impossible to imagine a male Kazakh suit without a belt. This key element of the costume made a huge difference. And I must say that for a girl, losing a belt was equivalent to the loss of honor. To appear without a belt was also not the best idea, because a man without a belt was considered spineless, weak, and weak-willed. Even if we turn to Kazakh folklore, it has expressions that belt is actually a symbol of masculinity in a man's suit, and it shows the ability to give offspring. A wedding ritual had a custom. When the girl's brother gave the bride to the groom's parents and relatives, he tied a handkerchief over his waist, and one of the meanings of this action is that the girl transitions to a new status, and it means that she will be obedient and appeasable in the new family.
И обозначает то, что она будет покорной, покладистой в семье нового мужа.
When the boy turned 13, he was tied a belt for the first time, and this belt was given to him by his father for life. From that time, it was believed that he was becoming a jigit, real man. That is, it meant the transition to the next sex-age group. The Kazakhs even have a saying, a 13-year-old is already a head of the family. After that, the teenager had the right to eat with the man and sleep with the elderly in the male part of the house. In the past, this was a good occasion to arrange a toy celebration, cut the ram and invite members of the clan and community. It is known that the belt for men was an amulet and an embodiment of life force. There was a Kazakh custom to hang a male belt on the pole in the event of the death of its owner. If a small child was sick, then the man tied a belt around his neck and walked around the child 3 times, pronouncing the word "Aynalayn," my dear.
Сол айналайын деген сөздің өзі бала ауырған кезде
Nowadays, this word is used in the names of different programs and products, but the etymology of the word was originated in old days. People believed that if you put a belt around your neck and bypass a sick child 3 times, then he will recover.
және олардың сенімі бойынша мына белбеу деген магиялық функциясы бар. Соны мойныңа тағып айналсаң ғана бала жазылады деп ұғатын болған. Енді ондай кезде де жазылып кеткен кездер болған негізі.
They say that it is necessary to believe in it psychologically, and now the belts do not carry any special meaning.
Қатты нелер функциялар атқармайды.
Men's belts were different. Ethnographers distinguish several types of belts: kese, kumusbildik, and others. Men's belts were not only of utilitarian importance, but also pointed to the social status of their owner. Akins, singers, and creative people had special status. If we talk about salsere, they dressed in a special way. Their chapans, robes, were sewn so that one sleeve was shorter than the other, or chapan was sewn so wide that 5 to 6 people could fit in it. Such extraordinary people wore trousers with one short and another long leg. At the present day, they would be called glamorous jackets. They dressed in a peculiar way in order to amuse people, but the owl's feathers were necessarily attached to the headdresses. An orchestra man, a showman as they would call salsere nowadays, he not only entertained society but was also an educator. His stories, songs and jures often had folk wisdom. His entire eye-catching costume was very well thought through and had a utilitarian purpose. For example, one sleeve on the actor's chapan was shortened so that it was convenient to play a musical instrument. If pants, then very wide ones. If a headdress, then an exaggerated hat. A headpiece of some radical forms, several headdresses worn on top of each other. If it's a gown, then of bright, saturated colors. The whole layer of customs and science is connected with footwear of Kazakhs, attributes of the bottom world. You could not put shoes above the headdress. You could not turn the shoes upside down. It was considered as turning the world around. It was considered a bad sign, and improper, indecent if a woman stepped over a lying man. This again is related to shoes, to the lower world. It is believed that the heel was invented so that it would be convenient to sit in the stirrup. For the nomads, the heel was a common thing. Now we're talking about heels in centimeters. Previously, the heel was also given special attention. For example, ordinary girls wore shoes without heels. Later, a woman who had 2, 3, 4 children could attach heels on her shoes. The shoes were also decorated with Kazakh ornaments which had their own meaning. Ornamental shoes finishes were never used in other parts of the costume. Completely different patterns were used. Women and men had different patterns on the shoes, and now this is of little importance. It was impossible to confuse the ornament used for the collar and sleeves with those used on the shoes. There were many kinds of ornament. Modern Kazakhstani people wear national costumes rarely, mostly at festivals and toys celebrations in the days of committing certain customs. The costume, having survived in the centuries, nevertheless returns to us in a new, more recent interpretation. Our older generation helps us to remember about the sacred designation of this or that garment, about its meaning and functions. They pass this information from century to century. The Kazakh village does not exist in the way it used to be, and there are no nomads, wandering people. But most of prairie folkways and traditions still surround us. We follow them, but we not always know what they mean. Bahit Kairbekov, poet.